Are you ready to dive headfirst into the world of financial intrigue, deception, and high-stakes scams? Today, we're unraveling the twisted truth behind one of the most notorious and captivating scams in history, the Ponzi scheme. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to embark on a thrilling journey filled with charismatic con artists, multi-million-dollar heists, and jaw-dropping revelations. So hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and let's dive into the captivating world of Ponzi schemes together. Let the adventure begin. What is a Ponzi scheme? A Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investing scam that promises high rates of return with little to no risk to investors. The scheme generates returns for earlier investors by acquiring new investors, rather than through legitimate business activities. This is similar to a pyramid scheme in that both are based on using new investors' funds to pay the earlier backers. However, the key difference is that a pyramid scheme relies on recruiting new investors to keep the scheme going, while a Ponzi scheme focuses on the returns themselves. The invention of the Ponzi scheme. Charles Ponzi, an Italian immigrant, is the man behind this notorious scheme. He arrived in the United States in 1903 and quickly became known for his clever financial schemes. In 1919, Ponzi started his own company, the Securities Exchange Company, in Boston. He promised investors a 50% return on their investment in just 45 days, or a 100% return in 90 days. The idea behind his scheme was to exploit international postal reply coupons. Ponzi claimed he could buy these coupons at a discount in one country and exchange them for stamps in another country, selling the stamps for a profit. However, the reality was that he was simply using new investors' money to pay off earlier investors. The rise of Ponzi schemes. Ponzi's scheme quickly gained popularity, and by 1920, he was raking in millions of dollars from unsuspecting investors. The scheme was incredibly successful, and Ponzi lived a life of luxury until it all came crashing down later that year. The scheme collapsed when the Boston Post published an article questioning the legitimacy of Ponzi's operation. As a result, investors started demanding their money back, and the scheme was exposed. Ponzi was convicted of fraud and spent time in prison. Since then, the term Ponzi scheme has been used to describe similar financial frauds. How Ponzi schemes work today. Ponzi schemes are still prevalent today, with fraudsters using various tactics to lure in unsuspecting investors. Here's a basic outline of how a modern-day Ponzi scheme operates. The schemer promises high returns with little to no risk. This is the key selling point. The promise of easy money lures investors in. The schemer recruits new investors. In order to keep the scheme going and pay off earlier investors, the schemer constantly recruits new investors. The schemer uses new investments to pay off earlier investors. Instead of generating returns through legitimate business activities, the schemer uses new investors' money to pay off earlier investors, creating the illusion of profitability. The scheme collapses. Eventually, the scheme collapses when there aren't enough new investors to pay off earlier ones, or when the authorities catch on and expose the fraud. Multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme frauds. There have been numerous multi-million-dollar Ponzi schemes throughout history. Let's take a look at a few notable cases. Bernie Madoff. Perhaps the most infamous Ponzi scheme of all time, Bernie Madoff's fraud was exposed in 2008. Madoff, a respected financier, convinced investors to entrust him with their money, promising high returns with minimal risk. His scheme lasted for decades and resulted in the loss of an estimated $65 billion, making it the largest Ponzi scheme in history. Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison for his crimes. Alan Stanford. In 2009, Alan Stanford, a former billionaire and CEO of the Stanford Financial Group, was charged with running a $7 billion Ponzi scheme. Stanford convinced investors to purchase certificates of deposit from his bank, promising high returns. The scheme was uncovered when authorities realized that the bank's assets and performance were overstated. Stanford was sentenced to 110 years in prison. Tom Petters. In 2008, Minnesota businessman Tom Petters was arrested for orchestrating a $3.65 billion Ponzi scheme. Petters defrauded investors by convincing them to finance non-existent inventory for his companies. He used the new investors' funds to pay off earlier investors and maintain his lavish lifestyle. Petters was sentenced to 50 years in prison. Dark secrets of Ponzi schemes. The dark secrets behind Ponzi schemes are rooted in deception, greed, and the exploitation of trust. The schemers behind these fraudulent operations are often charismatic and persuasive, using their charm to manipulate and deceive investors. They prey on the vulnerable and desperate, exploiting their victims' dreams of financial stability and success. Additionally, many Ponzi schemes have links to organized crime, money laundering, and other illegal activities. This further highlights the dark, nefarious nature of these scams and the individuals who perpetrate them. Psychological tricks used by Ponzi schemers. A major factor contributing to the success of Ponzi schemes is the psychological manipulation employed by the schemers. To better understand how these frauds continue to entrap investors, let's dive into the psychological tactics used by Ponzi schemers to deceive their victims. Social proof. Schemers often rely on social proof to establish credibility. By showcasing a growing number of satisfied investors, they create the illusion of legitimacy. New investors are more likely to join when they see others profiting from the scheme. FOMO, fear of missing out. Ponzi schemers exploit the fear of missing out by emphasizing the limited time opportunity to join the scheme. By creating a sense of urgency, they pressure investors into making impulsive decisions without conducting proper research. Exclusivity. Another tactic is creating an air of exclusivity around the scheme. By portraying the investment opportunity as available only to a select few, schemers make potential investors feel privileged to be included, further enticing them to join. Authority and expertise. Ponzi schemers often present themselves as financial experts with insider knowledge. This perceived authority helps build trust and makes it more likely that potential investors will hand over their money without question. Greed. Ultimately, the promise of high returns with minimal risk appeals to human greed. Ponzi schemers prey on this desire for wealth, tempting investors with the prospect of easy money. Understanding these psychological tactics can help investors recognize the warning signs of a potential Ponzi scheme and avoid falling victim to these scams. Protecting yourself from Ponzi schemes. Now that we've explored the dark world of Ponzi schemes, it's essential to learn how to protect yourself from falling prey to these financial predators. Here are some tips to help you safeguard your hard-earned money. Conduct thorough research. Before investing in any opportunity, do your due diligence. Investigate the company, its management, and the investment opportunity itself. Look for warning signs, such as unrealistic returns, overly secretive operations, or a lack of clear information about how the returns are generated. Diversify your investments. A well-diversified investment portfolio can help protect you from potential scams. By spreading your money across various investment types and industries, you reduce the impact of a single scam on your overall financial health. Be skeptical of guarantees. No investment is without risk, and any opportunity that guarantees high returns with little to no risk should raise red flags. Always remember the age-old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Consult with professionals. If you're unsure about an investment opportunity, consult with a trusted financial advisor, attorney, or accountant. These professionals can help you evaluate the legitimacy of the investment and determine whether it's a good fit for your financial goals. Report suspected scams. If you believe you've encountered a Ponzi scheme, report it to the appropriate authorities, such as the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, or your local law enforcement. By reporting potential scams, you can help protect others from falling victim to these devious frauds. By staying vigilant and following these tips, you can better protect yourself from the financial devastation caused by Ponzi schemes and other fraudulent investment scams. So, there you have it, the dark and twisted world of Ponzi schemes. Despite regulations and increased vigilance, Ponzi schemes continue to plague the financial world, ensnaring unsuspecting investors and leaving a trail of financial devastation in their wake. It's crucial to remain vigilant and do thorough research before investing your hard-earned money. Thank you for joining us today. If you found this video informative, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing content. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on Ponzi schemes or any suggestions for future videos. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. Another story down, so many more to go. See you next time on Storytelling Gods.